Hello, I'm John Feldt. This is the weekly water outlook for the southeast U.S. Well, first of all, it's been very interesting this spring and summer over the southeast U.S., and I suspect with tropical season not that far away, the peak of tropical season, it's going to continue to be very interesting over the next weeks and months. Now, these are the current steering winds. You can see that highly amplified pattern that I spoke about last week has developed. Ridge of high pressure in the west and a dipping of the jet stream in the east. The color shadings are the amounts of wind that are embedded in that jet stream. So purple would be the highest wind streaks. And you can see we've dipped the jet stream down to the southeast U.S. and brought that jet stream up with that energy. And that is why we've been getting enhanced precipitation, at least this week, over the parts of the Midwest or the southeast U.S. So the amounts of precipitation over the last 7 days, you can see here, it's been generally scattered. The most organized precipitation was over North Carolina, and that has brought stream flow up to high levels. The areas in red indicate 5 inches or more of rain, so there are pockets in that area. Over Alabama and Mississippi, it was generally the central and southern parts of those areas, and lighter amounts over northern parts of Mississippi, Alabama, northwest Georgia, and parts of western Tennessee. So if we look at the surplus or deficits for the last 7 days, definitely looks more summer-like and convective over Georgia. We have pockets of those blue, which is 2 inches or more above normal compared to normal for the week. But we also see pockets of yellow. So I think from Alabama and Georgia, it was sort of hit or miss throughout the week. But as we get into North Carolina, you can see the 2 to 3 inch increase or surplus of precipitation. We've picked up that much more, and that's going to bring an increasing vulnerability, and I'll be talking about that in just a bit. Now, we look at the number of rain days. This really tells the story. This is as of late last week, on the 28th, the number of rain days. And look at the southeast U.S. We're looking at either that light green, 11 to 15, or the dark green, 16 to 20, consecutive or rain days out of the past 30. So basically, there's been some rain every other day, maybe 3 days at the most for the last month. And we can also see a fairly strong defining line with most daily or frequency of rainfall east of this line and lesser amounts over parts of Mississippi, northwest Alabama, and western Tennessee. So stream flows have responded. This is the instantaneous stream flow. So we're looking at North Carolina, which is being influenced by the latest rain. You can see the blue, which is a high stream flow. And then as we get down towards most of the southeast U.S., I think it's sort of a scattering over South Georgia with the recent rain. There's been some increase in stream flow, but normal stream flow elsewhere. Now, if we looked at a longer-term trend, a 7-day average, you'd probably see some higher values here representing the impact due to more frequent rain events. Now, this week, really not a whole lot of change. This amplified pattern will continue, and how it'll impact the southeast U.S. is that pockets of energy will rotate along those right into the southeast U.S. and mid-Atlantic and really enhance precipitation. It looks like it's going to be a very wet week over parts of our area. And then maybe by late this week it'll modify a bit, but really the trend is going to continue to be this type of pattern. Now, matter of fact, even in the 6 to 10 day period, the mean position of the jet stream is such that it's going to bow north in the west and dip south in the east. And when it dips south here, it brings that jet energy over our area and enhances precipitation. So right now, I don't see any decrease in this rain frequency or intensity pattern that we've developed into the foreseeable future. Now, I'm going to show some model output precipitation and forecast. This is the next 7-day model output. And this will change the precise location of precipitation, but it does show that there's the possibility of tapping into that tropical moisture. I did mention this last week, that this week could be a very wet week over parts of the southeast U.S. And right now, areas in red are the areas that are forecast to get the most rain. I think it's a little early to say exactly where those spots will be. But this is the NOAA's CP or HPC's guidance, and you can see that the areas of red are indicating possibly 5 inches or more of rain over parts of the Carolinas, and that area is very wet. And I think we will have a potential for flooding in that area, both on the small scale with flash flood as well as main stem river flooding. South Carolina, also quite a bit of rain. Large part of Georgia and northwest Florida, closest to that inflow of Gulf moisture, quite wet. Now, I do think what we've seen in the last couple days, there's going to be a line about right here. And I know last week I said Mobile to Birmingham to Atlanta. That's not too far off. It might be a little bit further west, but definitely drier to the west and wetter to the east. Now, the temperature outlook, both due to clouds as well as that dip in the jet stream, the pocket of coldest air or coolest air will be to our west, but the precipitation and the clouds will be keeping temperatures fairly close to normal as we go through this week. Precipitation, looked at a couple models. You can see one of the models down on the bottom part of this slide. 6 to 10 day outlook does call for continued wet weather over most of the southeast U.S. Right as we get into July. Matter of fact, some model output here I wanted to show you. And as always, when we get into the 6-day to 14-day, I really don't look so much at amounts. I look at general patterns, and wanted to point out that the 6 to 10 day does show some moderate to heavy rain. That's that orange and red over parts of the southeast U.S. This does bring it a little bit more inland than from along the coast. And then as we get into the 8 to 14 day, again, fairly widespread. Now, the only point I'd make here is, these models are indicating that whereas this week it could be a little bit further east and not as much west, it looks like after that, all the way through the 6 to 14 day, it looks like it could be a little bit more widespread over the area. So the takeaway points, I'm going to be talking about feedback in my newsletter coming out this week, but we are getting some feedback due to the soils being very wet, and we also are going to have support synoptically from upper energy. So between both of those factors, it looks like continued above normal rainfall until further notice. That will mean an increasing vulnerability, and I'm going to be talking about this more and more as well. I don't see any organized tropical activity this week, but we are setting that stage. It's always interesting this time of year. We're more and more setting that stage for when we get into the peak season, and right now it looks like we're setting up a vulnerability over parts of the southeast U.S. And right now, I don't really see much change right into early or mid-July. Now, like I said, I'll have my newsletter out later this week, information throughout the week, and I will be updating my briefing again next weekend. Have a nice 4th of July, and I'll be talking with you again next week.